Today is Monday, July 11th. We're at the Farnborough Air Show with Nick Leontidis, CAE's Group President for Civil Aviation Training Solutions. Thanks for being with us, Nick.
Thank you for having me.
We keep hearing about the industry's pilot sourcing challenges. Can you outline how CAE's activities, from cadet to captain pilot training to crew resourcing, can help fill that gap?
Right. Maybe I can just start off by saying what we mean by pilot demand and the current shortage. I mean, the traffic is growing by 4%. The OEMs have a backlog of over 11,000 aircraft. A lot of pilots are retiring. And so we see a need for 250,000 pilots over the next 10 years. We also think this is spread out pretty evenly across the region. This isn't pronounced in certain regions. It used to be Asia, potentially in China, which were growing markets, was where most of this was demand was coming from, but now we see it everywhere. Historically, the industry has taken pilots from the military, it's taken pilots from general aviation, and it's taken pilots through these professional programs. What we see in the last few years is these other sources of pilots have dried up, and really these professional pilot programs are become the more important, and we believe much more important going forward. So with that as the backdrop, we've created a network of academies. We've put together over 50 simulator centers, and we've coined the cadet to captain capability, which is really to be able to source, train, and provide to the airline in any formula that they're looking for. We pay for it, they pay for it, the student pays for it. The student defines a curriculum, the airline defines a curriculum. So any combination of or permutation of that. But the capability is there. We do about 1,000 new pilots every year, and we train over 200,000 existing pilots in the network every year. So we certainly could do more, and this is really what we're after. But our focus is professional pilot programs, which are what we believe to be the future of source of pilots in the industry.
Your civil training operations have grown substantially over the last decade. And as you mentioned, 50 locations, 250 full-flight simulators, 160 aircraft, 8 academies, and more than 2,000 instructors. What are your growth plans in training, and what different business models are you using to provide value to your airline and business aviation customers?
Right. I think first and foremost, our focus is always around partnering. Airlines require reliable source of supply for training over a long period of time. We want to give them the confidence that this is something that they could bestow on us. The models are either we set up a training center and the customer signs some kind of long-term agreement, or more preferably, we have some kind of joint venture. We co-own the operation. The airline can rely on the source of supply, and we can offload some of the excess capacity. We have some great examples of that in the last few years. Japan Airlines, AirAsia, Indigo or Interglobe Aviation. These are all what we would call the model partnership or the model relationship that we'd like to have with an airline.
As the world leader in both training and the simulators training devices used for that training, CAE is well positioned to push the frontiers of technology in training. What are your plans for the next generation of pilot training, and what innovations are you planning on continuing?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a generational change of pilots in the last few years. We think that the historical programs and the pilot and the training philosophies are probably not going to be suitable for the future pilot. And so we have a philosophy around finding new capabilities. We call them next generation training technologies and capabilities that are going to allow for airlines to more effectively train pilots. And really it's 3 things. We want the pilots to be more capable in operating the way the airline wants to operate, so we'll operate their own way. We want them to be able to master critical skills, and we want to be able to measure and monitor the capabilities of those pilots on an ongoing basis, so that we can make sure that the skill sets are at their highest levels. So we think that today's programs probably aren't going to be suitable in the future, and we have come up with and are developing some capabilities which we think are going to be beneficial for the next generation pilot.
One of those I recall was adaptive flight training. Can you talk about that a bit and
Right, I think
where you're headed technologically?
Right. I think the analogy there is that when you went to university and you went to class, there were people that graduated with a mark of 60, and there were people that had graduated with a mark of 100. And there were very different reasons why they did that. The notion here is that we would have to adapt training for individuals. Today, the programs, and it's one of the areas that we think where the future is going, is the programs were very much one size fits all, and almost what I would call too easy for some and too difficult for others. The idea of adaptive training is that we create a more flexible program that's suited to the needs of each individual, addresses the weaknesses, reinforces the strengths, and ultimately increases the level of capability of each of these pilots.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.